Good evening. It's already October the 2nd. I cannot believe that we are in the home stretch to finish out this year, but we just completed our statewide road trip to victory and had an incredible time. We'll talk a little bit about that tonight, but we've got a lot to talk about with our guests, and I have been really excited all week. Once our guests committed to joining us tonight, I think we're going to have a great time. So all that and more on tonight's Hamilton Report. Well, I'll say this now and I'll repeat it again later. This is an interactive broadcast, which means that if you put something in the chat, a question or a comment, we'll do our best to get to it this evening. And because we have a somewhat lighthearted show tonight, and I needed that this evening, I do want to start with something a little heavier. Our friends at the Lincoln Project continue to slay with some fine work. This one, though, caught me by surprise, and it actually caused me to choke a bit. Take a look and see what you think.
Hey, honey. Mommy. You asked me to wake you and tell you what happened in the election. Who won? Trump. Trump won. But I thought you could only be president 2 times. Not anymore.
The Lincoln.
And that's what I've been saying you've heard me say this for the last 2 years, that if by some very unfortunate happenstance he were to become president again, that would be our last election. But you and I know that we're doing everything we can to hold President Biden up, lift him up, and get him reelected in 2024. All right, we're going to move to something a little lighter now. My guest tonight is someone who I've admired for a very long time. He's never hit me too hard, at least any time in the last few years, but his wit, the way that he thinks about either the subject that he's writing about or something much greater is really impressive. And I think we all owe a debt of gratitude for some much needed relief in our daily lives to the Lost Ogle. With that, I'm very happy to present the main man behind the Lost Ogle. Patrick, good evening and welcome to the Hamilton Report.
Well, thanks for having me to the Hamilton Report. I like that very nice, kind introduction you gave me. It's
true. You've never hit me too hard. A couple times you came close, but the sand wasn't kicked too high, so I could still see afterwards.
Good.
Tell me, what was the genesis of the Lost Ogle? What gave you the idea that you just said, you know what, this is something I need to do?
Boredom, I think.
Okay. That's
fair.
Right.
The Lost Ogle's evolved over the years. When I first started it, when I was 29 in 2007, I think had a lot different tone and feel than what it has today. But now it's just, I don't know. I always tell people, I don't do the Lost Ogle because I can't do anything else. I do the Lost Ogle because I can't do anything else. I mean, it's just what I do. I don't know why, it's something that I'm drawn to, but it's fun. Every day is kind of different, which is good for my ADD mind. And get to cover the state that I was sometimes feel unfortunately born in. So here we are.
Well, so let's look at not present day candidates or office holders, but looking back to when you first started, who have been some of your most joyful people to toy with on the Lost Ogle?
You know, during that kind of moment from about, 2012 to about 2018, when we got to cover Governor Mary Fallon and her daughter, Christina, who we dubbed Hipster Boo Boo.
That was perfect.
That was so much fun. And like, we got to break so many kind of absurd stories regarding them, like the time that we found out Mary Fallon got engaged at the Playboy Mansion, the Faith Family Freedom candidate, to when her daughter was living in a trailer. Still makes me laugh when she was living in a trailer at the governor's mansion, and kind of the whole controversy that surrounded that. It's kind of fun to see that stuff and think, that none of that would have happened if it wasn't, for us doing our little thing,
But what you said, a little thing, I'm going to tell you something. It amazes me how many state news outlets pick up your work, and yet the Lost Ogle never gets credit for any of those tips.
Nah, very rarely. Now, in all fairness, we pick up a lot of news from, the other media outlets,
Sure.
but I'm always, the first to say via, this channel, according to these people, they sometimes get mad at me for doing that. They're like, you stole too much of our work, and I'm like, I'm just giving you credit for, doing your job, But yeah, we're the Rodney Dangerfield of local media, which is probably deserved. We get no respect, but I think people still like to laugh at us. So,
Well, I know I do, and I just let me just tell folks that if you get to read the Lost Ogle online and it shows up in your feed, good for you. But I will tell you that you're missing quite a lot because you really need to subscribe. It's only $5 a month, and well worth it. You've heard me say this on this broadcast many, many times. We are so grateful for independent journalism in Oklahoma, because without it, we would really have a dearth of news. And so I encourage you to go to thelostogle.com and become a subscriber.
me too.
So, I bet you do. How does your family react to your work?
I still think they're proud of it. My parents, I think they get kind of a kick out of it that, something that I've created has reached so many people. My dad is, in a way, my biggest fan. My dad's a artist that a lot of people know. His name's Patrick Riley as well. So I think I inherited some of his just kind of weird creative genes. And I think doing the Lost Ogle was kind of my way of getting even with him, from so many people saying, "Hey, do you know the artist Patrick Riley?" To now it's like the other way around. People
Oh,
asking,
that's great.
know me. So take that, Dad. Yeah.
So let's talk about the superintendent of public, private, Catholic education.
Yeah, right. Premier Walters.
Yes, exactly. Let's talk about him, because if I blasted every damn thing that fool does, that would be a 24-hour-a-day job.
Yeah.
A total embarrassment to the people of Oklahoma. Absolutely intent on destroying public education as we've known it. Are you a product of public education?
Yeah. My dad was a teacher for 40 something years. So I'm a big advocate of public education. Ironically enough, I do have a daughter who goes to private schools, but that's a whole, weird other thing, which sometimes with the state of Oklahoma public schools, and thanks to people like Ryan Walters, it's not like even political rhetoric. I mean, the guy is literally wants to destroy, he wants to privatize public education. He's part of that group, which, doesn't seem like a good plan to me, but, makes Oklahoma public schools, doesn't put a lot of faith in them when that guy in charge of them seems to hate them more than anyone.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I'm just amazed that people voted for him. But you got to admit that the people who show up for his rallies, I mean, the Oklahoma State Department of Education meetings, with their professionally printed signs and everything, the average age of those supporters is probably about 87.
Yeah, right.
These are people with no kids in school, no grandkids in school. What is it about? Is it the same kind of thing that, oh, I like Trump because he says what's on his mind? In other words, he's a racist and he lets me be a racist too. Is that the same kind of connection that they have?
To a degree. Now, I would disagree that he's popular. I would actually assume that most people in the state, if you're not politically informed, You don't know who he is, probably, and a lot of people, why they voted for him, it's because he had an R by his name. And
Exactly.
we're in Oklahoma, the reddest state in the country. Now, he won kind of a close primary. He snuck by on that. And then, he was the most extreme candidate. So we get the most extreme person, doing the things. But I would bet if you went on the street and showed 100 people a picture of Ryan Walters, most people wouldn't know who he is. And the people that did know who he was wouldn't like him, wouldn't have a positive impression of him. But that doesn't matter when, you're in a Republican dominated state with straight line party voting where, they don't know. They're just going to vote for the Republican.
He looks like he works in the boys department at J.C. Penney and buys his clothes there.
Yeah, don't knock J.C. Penney too much here.
But I've said the same thing about Matt Pinnell. If I went out on the street tonight and hollered, "Who is Matt Pinnell?" not two people would be able to tell me.
Yeah, hardly anyone. And that's kind of the sad state of politics in the state. I mean, our governor literally didn't vote until he ran for governor. Exactly. I mean, it's we're not the most politically engaged state. It's kind of that other side to the Oklahoma standard that we like to talk about. You have kind of mythological Oklahoma standard that the news media likes to peddle out there after a tornado or whatever, which every state has their own version of that standard. Yes. But I think our Oklahoma standard is a little, I'm not trying to bag on my state, but some of the people, I mean, I don't want them making decisions for me, and unfortunately there's a lot of them, so they get to.
Well, this is Teach a Kid to Read Week or some such nonsense, sponsored by the Feminine Proud Boys or Moms for Liberty. And so he is just crowing about them every day, has no sense of shame being associated with an absolute hate group of white Christian nationalists. I mean, that if anything, that's a draw for him. So between that and PragerU, hey, it's no wonder he doesn't want to spend any money on school books next year. Yeah,
once again, like with him, you sometimes do wonder, like, how much of this is like real? Like, how much is him just posturing or, just doing his weird, crazy right-wing shtick just to get, likes and support? How much does he really believe this stuff? I mean, that's kind of a mystery. It's very Trumponian, right? I mean, people said the same thing about Trump. He's just kind of that playbook that a lot of people around the country are kind of using to kind of, modulate Trump. And, it's worked for Ryan Walters.
It has. For any of our viewers that did not see his debacle of an interview on Fox following his lying before Congress, talk a little bit about your impression of the Fox host talking to the idiot.
She just looked puzzled and confused, like, why am I talking to this guy? Like, once, I try not to bag on Fox News too much because I don't watch Fox News. I mean, I think that I never watch it except on clips that I'm like, think it's awful and terrible, right? But even then I'm like, man, she's like, seems like she doesn't want to be there with Ryan Walters, just given his, okay, this is my GOP phrase out of the bag. This will be, what are they called? Moms for Patriot. Hooray. Those groups, they all have like, whatever, just quoting all the crazy stuff. And then she called him out on it. It was saying, well, you say all this, but this is what the Tulsa Public School District says. And you can see him, he's like smiling, and then they're like, all right, see, and he doesn't get a chance to respond. He's like, and then they just like, now to Joe Biden, giving kids cancer or something like that, whatever weird propaganda they're pushing.
What is the dumbest thing that you think that he has said since he was elected? And I know that's pretty old.
Yeah, right. Well, let me look at my scroll here. I would probably, and I can't remember the exact specifics of what he said, but it had something to do with the Tulsa race massacre, where he was like trying to say that, we don't know. Was it him that said we don't know what it was? Him, and there was that
really happened there.
I think there was another lady. They both kind of said the same thing, and then the next day he was like, "Whoa, no, it was a racist thing. It was like they told him like, yeah, you kind of said the Tulsa race massacre, wasn't racist, Ryan." He's like, "Oh no, it's racist, yeah, but we can't, yeah, but and then like their whole generic, but kids can't feel guilty because of their race or something like that." That was incredibly dumb. I mean, he's just said, once again, there's a whole banned library book full of crazy stuff that, he's said over the years. So
Let me ask you this, because, and this could be my imagination, but he's all in for the failed former Orange Menace. But when the governor of Oklahoma came out for DeSantis, it seemed like the relationship between the
Mhm.
governor and the superintendent seemed to cool a bit. Was that just wishful thinking on my part?
I've heard via the Ogle network, some people have told me that maybe they're not as chummy as they used to be. I don't know what that means. I don't know if maybe was everything an act when they were both running for a campaign. Can you imagine that, politicians pretending
Please.
to like each other during a campaign? So who knows? I mean, they're still pretty much aligned on I think every issue. I mean, I think they both have the same goal of wanting to privatize and public education and kind of turn them into glorified religious schools. They would love it. So I mean, they may not like each other, but they seem pretty aligned on all the issues.
I agree. And that's unfortunate because in the end, it's the kids who lose.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move to the governor for a minute. He provides you plenty of fodder for the
Right.
Lost Ogle. And has he ever responded to anything you've ever said about him?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't really, I don't think I'm on his Christmas card list, or I don't think I'm going to get like a governor's mansion ornament or anything like that from him.
Now, Carla used to try to smack you around, didn't she?
Yeah, we've had some run-ins with Carly. I said she got the best of me, nearly got me canceled one time on Twitter. She was great at her job. I worked in PR and public relations and marketing before I did the Lost Ogle full time, and I give her credit for her boss, at least what she was supposed to do. I mean, I would love to have a Carly Atchison, in my corner, but now she's with DeSantis. And I'll tell you, since she left, the governor's social media has got really boring. And I don't know if it's just kind of snooze fest right now. And I mean, I call on his new campaign or propaganda team. Come on, we need to give me some more content, say some more crazy stuff, and, take Ryan Walters on. They're letting Walters steal the show, which I'm not, it's not good.
That I find that really interesting because we all know that Stitt has such an outsized ego that he would allow his little bro to steal his thunder. There's something weird with that.
Yeah, I don't know what Stitt's like what his play is right now. Like he's on the DeSantis bandwagon. I think he's maybe making a calculated bet that something happens where Trump doesn't get nominated, whether he's in jail. Something weird happens and he has to drop out of the race, which I mean, like that Lincoln Project thing, I think ad you shared, I think that's more likely than, Trump not being the nominee. But I think he made a calculated bet that DeSantis will win. And, if that happens, I imagine Stitt would probably be in line for something within that administration. But then again, some people say he wants to run for president. So, who knows?
I certainly hope not. All right. Who else is on your radar these days, Patrick?
I mean, I always it's not calculated, right? Like I don't have a radar screen, like, haha, they're locked in my sights. It's just people seem to float into it. Who knows which lawmaker is going to get a DUI next week, right? Who knows which school coach or high school coach isn't gonna, try to do something weird to one of their players. We cover a lot of news and, media. So you never know which one of those people, is going to do something to, drive fodder. Like what racist sheriff is going to say something racist on a secret audio, or, you just never know in this state.
But that is kind of a fun challenge every day, just to wake up and it's a brand new day again.
Yeah, like some days are easier than others. We have the Ogle network, which always is delivering tips and information, sometimes more than what I can do with. Like somebody will send me something, you need to investigate this. And I'm like, that'd be fun if I had a team of investigative reporters and there were 80 hours in a week. One that I keep on hearing about is Shelley Zumwalt in the Oklahoma Tourism Department.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't get a lot of media play, but wherever she's gone, there's always been seen to be interesting things with age discrimination amongst state employees. And her salary, she makes a lot of money, a lot more than the other people did leading the tourism department.
And she just got a $40,000 raise.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So she's making a lot of money, and I don't know, something. I wouldn't be surprised. You hear a lot of people saying that, she may run for lieutenant governor. I don't know how true that is. But that's always someone you're kind of like watching, what's going on there? Who is this kind of mysterious person who rose up the ranks of state government so fast? But I know that's one person that we've, talked about here or there. And then, I'm still really wanting to check out Gaddy Town, which is Brent Swadley's new pizza restaurant.
Tell me you're not going to eat there.
Well, we have the state's best food critic, writes for the Lost Ogle. His name is Lewis Fowler.
Absolutely, so, Lewis is terrific.
I think Lewis and I will need to take a pizza party and go to Gaddy Town and see what. There has to be something weird going on there. Brent Swadley had his chain of Foggy Bottom Kitchens, right? He had like 8 of them with the state. He was making all this money on weird contracts and everything. And that gets pulled out from underneath him, and all of a sudden he has 16 Gaddy Town franchises.
Yeah,
I'm not an IRS agent, but I don't know.
Alicia Kelly Sullivan just asked a moment ago, what about drunk teachers? You were one of the early people on the drunk teachers, weren't you?
Yeah, first of all, I don't if you're a teacher and you want to drink a lot right now, I don't blame you. Just don't do it at school. And both of them, in both situations, they're like, well, I drank the night before. And once again, I've had a few too many drinks over the years at night, and you wake up the next day, you're like, what is going? No, there's no way. These people were drinking at school, on the job, and Ryan Walters doesn't say anything about them, probably because who knows why, right? But we have
where his wife is these days.
Harbor Mountain Coffee Shop.
I was going to say, I hear she's still a big coffee drinker.
No, we try not to talk about family members too much unless they kind of, insert themselves into campaigns or into that political life, which, when Ryan ran for public office, it's kind of hard not to do that when they're your spouse. But,
sure.
Most of our focus is on Ryan Walters and, a lot of once again, it's, I feel redundant. It's like, I swear we're not just a Ryan Walters only website. We've been doing this for when Ryan Walters was in college. We've been doing this before then when he was in high school. And he's just kind of new on the scene, but it just I just can't let it go. I don't know. Like when he does a video, I'm like, I got to write about this, I
know. I mean,
and
those car videos have become way, way out of hand.
He's gotten better. I will give him credit. If you watch some of his early videos, he feels kind of nervous, but now you can tell he's confident when he does these videos. You can tell
you say confident and I say ultra cocky. Okay.
Same, either way, he was nervous. He was just kind of like, oh, well, the history will be taught like with our history. I can't stand the way he says history, by the way. Like ask him what he taught in high school. It's like history. I don't know. Anyway, not a big fan. If you all have, if any of the viewers, have anything about Ryan Walters, always feel free to email us. My favorite Ryan Walters story is the one that we busted we revealed his attempt to be booked at CPAC, which was kind of funny. I don't know if you remember that. He had his hilarious. He had his we had open records. An Ogle Mole emailed us these open records they obtained, like all the desperate links Ryan sent his PR guy at the time to try to get him booked at CPAC, like all these follow-up emails, and they're like, well, you can pay to come to CPAC, and then they're trying to get the state to pay for it. And that gets, that actually didn't work, which was surprising. So that was such a fun one.
Nancy Presno has a question for you. Which Enid Judge is going to ram cars and shoot up Texas next?
Hey, if they're going to do that stuff, do it in Texas. Go to Austin. Once again, they say the Austin traffic. I've never experienced it, but I've heard bad things about it. Maybe it even it drove an Enid Judge crazy. So he went nuts in Austin. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, which good for him. Yeah, exactly. The good people of Enid put up with so much. They put up with Wild West judges and a Nazi on their city council. And like a real life Nazi, or not. I don't know if he was a real life Nazi, but he was like a Proud Boy, or when asked, he refused to denounce himself being a Nazi. So that's probably pretty close to being a Nazi. I would think so too. All right. Yeah. Okay. What do we have to look forward to from the Lost Ogle?
I mean, this is obviously the site is great. All the work
Well,
that you're
thank you.
doing is great. You have bigger plans? You looking at TV somewhere along the way, or
Oh, I don't know. You know what I like about the Lost Ogle is kind of lets me be me. I've kind of
Mhm.
built up an world to surround me and my ADD ness or whatever. Kind of the beauty of the site is I don't know what I'm going to write about tomorrow. I'll decide
Okay.
when I wake up and kind of have some ideas, right? But I look through and kind of, go from there. I know Lewis has a food review. I'm the publisher editor of the site. I don't even know what he's reviewing tomorrow. That's just kind of how we work, kind of in the moment. The stuff we
Mhm.
read has a lot of typos in it. It's almost like rough copy. And that's how we fly. But, you never know. Media is a fun game. You never know, there may be opportunities down the road to grow and make it bigger. And, or, hopefully I just hope in 20 years I'm not coming on your podcast again. And, we're talking about President Ryan Walters or something.
Oh,
That would be
oh
bad.
boy. You'll
That'd
have
be
to
good for business, bad for everyone else.
exactly. You'd have to come tell me about it when I'm in the nursing home, because that's
Right.
what it would wind up being. I'll tell you. Well, partner, we're just about out of time tonight. Patrick,
That was quick. Wow.
I know, and I really have enjoyed this conversation. When I say we're about out of time, this was one viewer's response. So can you see the responses?
I can. Well, thank
Okay.
you, Alicia Kelly Sullivan. You're cool.
This has really been great, and I hope that I don't give you any reason to write bad things about me. My plan is to continue to doing what I'm doing without arrest or total embarrassment. So, but hey, if either of those things happens,
You
I'm
never, you
I'm
never know.
I'm right out there. So
I always tell people the easiest way, and I've had to write about friends, like people I know, and I'm just doing my job,
good
right?
job.
But the easiest way not to make the Lost Ogle is don't do anything that would make the Lost Ogle, and you're
Yeah.
pretty safe.
Well, Patrick, I hope that you'll honor us again by coming on the show
Sure
uh,
thing.
later on, because this has been great. And I sometimes I get so wound up in this show, and my viewers hear me say this every week. This is my favorite half hour of the week, just to spend time with Democrats and progressive folks. But sometimes I do just get on a roll, and tonight I needed some quiet. So as a chance to actually laugh out loud. So thank you for that,
Good.
and thanks for making me laugh every day through your work on the Lost Ogle. And I thank you so much for being with us, and I'll look forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for having me, and thanks to everyone who listened. I appreciate it.
All right, partner. Have a good
All
night.
right. See you.
Well, I mentioned at the top of this broadcast that we just concluded our statewide road trip to victory, and that was an amazing experience. We traveled for 8 days, 11 stops. We met Democrats exactly where they are in their hometowns. They got to tell us the good and the things that they're afraid of. And what's very interesting, the very first day of our road trip, the chair of the Oklahoma GOP said, we don't need to reach out to rural Oklahomans because they'll vote for us no matter what. We're not going to reach out. And I hope the Democrats do go out, and they'll see that people don't, their views aren't aligned with Oklahoma's values. Well, guess what? Everybody we talked to, everybody we encountered believes that we need high quality public education no matter where in the state you live. We believe that everyone should have affordable quality health care no matter where you live, and that you shouldn't have to be worried about your hospital closing and getting sick and having to travel 2 hours. And finally, is economic opportunity, a chance to support your family with a job instead of 3 or 4 or 5. Those are democratic values, and we found that they resonate with Oklahomans. So my charge to each of us is stop being whispering Democrats. It's time for us, friends, to be loud and proud of who we are, to stand up for the people of Oklahoma, because Lord knows so many people are working against our children, our seniors, working parents. But we believe that you build, as President Biden has said, from the bottom up and the middle out. That's what we believe, and that's what we're working toward every single day. Well, friends, thank you again for being with us. I had a very special guest lined up for next Monday before I realized that next Monday is Indigenous Peoples Day. So we will be off the air next Monday night. But when we come back in 2 weeks, I promise to have a guest that I think you'll find fascinating. And you'll be seeing more about that in social media in the days to come. But for right now, I hope that you take really good care of yourself. Keep an eye toward the weekend when it's going to cool off and actually feel like fall in Oklahoma. And on behalf of Alicia Andrews, our chair, and all of us at the Oklahoma Democratic Party, I'm Scott J. Hamilton, thanking you for joining us. Thank you for sharing this broadcast, and thank you for caring. Have a good night.